Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commodity TV, and we want to get here out of our studios in Munich an update from Farhad Abasov, the chairman of Millennial Potash, because potash is the next big thing. Welcome, Farhad. How are you?
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, great to have you here. Thanks for taking the time, as we are already traveling the whole week together. Great to have you here in our studios in Munich, and you just presented here, which was great. I must say I'm also a shareholder of the company for disclosure reasons. And Millennial Potash, the name says it, potash in Gabon, very interesting thing. So how is it going there?
It's gone very well so far, Jochen. We started in February. And since then, we've done quite a bit of work. We've fast-tracked it as soon as we can.
Yeah.
And we started drilling basically in August. And in September already, we have our first drill hole done. And the plan is now to actually put out our 43-101 maiden resource estimate by November. And then we're going to go straight into a preliminary economic assessment.
Okay. Super.
And this is just on one piece of our land. Our land position is very large, it's over 1,200 square kilometers. So this is just the northern part that has been explored in the past, and then we're going to move the drill rig down to the south and drill the really deep and thick horizons there.
Okay, super. I think you have already like a chalk resource estimate, which is like a historic one, so you don't take it at that sense for granted and serious. So you are redoing that for the 43-101 standard. So this would be already work for, I think, something like a feasibility study already. Is that right?
Yeah, Jochen. So the previous operator had a JORC compliant resource on it, just again on one small area. What we're doing, we're replicating that work and, of course, bringing in compliance with 43-101. And then we're going to be expanding this. In the second stage of our drilling, we're going to drill in the south. And we think that will allow us to actually prove up much larger resource than what we're going to be doing in the next couple of months.
Okay, about what we are talking, how many billion of tons, what are the grades, like the KCI grade?
Yeah, so the previous operator put out the JORC compliant inferred resource of over 1 billion tons at 16% KCl.
Mm-hmm.
So we think we'll be able to actually also, go over 1 billion tons just in the north and hopefully much larger in the south. And the grade is about, it was 16% KCl. Of course, here we'll see what kind of grade we're going to get on average.
Mm-hmm. Okay, super.
Yeah.
I saw in your presentation also there was a beautiful colored map or photo, if you want to say it like that. And I think when we go from the north to the south, it looks like that the potash layer is getting thicker and thicker. Is that?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So there were two things done in that part of our project. The one, of course, the drill program. And they were in two different times. In the 70s, they drilled down to about 1,200 meters. And then in 2017, 2018, 20 kilometers to the north, they drilled down to about 500 meters. So in the south, we see very thick potash horizons, up to 100 meters thick in total. In the north, even there, we still see quite a thick potash horizons, about 30, 40 meters. So you're right. I mean, that correlates very well with seismic work that was done on this project as well. So it's a very good correlation, a very good understanding of the entire area, not only from drill holes, but also from seismic program, which we actually had it reinterpreted.
Mm-hmm. Super. How many holes do you think you have to drill until you can say, okay, now we have the 43-101 standard and we can prove a resource which is really significant? Because we know from gold mining, you easily have 100 or 200 holes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is quite different. This is potash. Usually you don't need that many holes for potash. A few, literally, 3, 4 holes should be enough. But in our case, it's very interesting. The previous exploration that took place in 2017, 2018, since then we have all the drill cores intact on our side. So we already sent those drill cores for assay analysis or reanalysis. So we can use that in our 43-101. In addition, we've extended one of the holes as well. So that's our own drill hole, so to speak. So that will be used in 43-101. So in the end, we're going to be using basically existing drill cores plus one of the holes that we're drilling. And that will give us enough material, enough data to do 43-101 maiden resource assessment based on the northern part of the property. And then, of course, we have to drill in the south. That will be happening probably later this year, early next year.
Okay.
And there we're planning about 3 to 4 holes.
Okay, super.
Yeah.
And you could do that now with the money you have in the bank?
Yeah, we have enough in the bank to do the first stage of drilling, do 43-101, and then do a preliminary economic assessment. To do the second stage of drilling, we'll probably need to raise more capital next year.
But that's normal. You are an exploration
Yes,
company.
of course.
We are not in production
as usual. Yes, absolutely.
Potash is something where we think in big quantities. Yeah, you need a lot of salt water also. I think your project location nearby the shore is very favorable, right?
Absolutely, Johan. So in addition to thick potash horizons, we also happen to be right on the coast. So that means that we can use seawater to use for our solution mining operation, because that's what we'd like to do. In our previous 2 potash projects, they were also solution mining amenable. Now, normally speaking, you would get fresh water, you would add salt to it, and then you would pump the saline solution into your ore body. Here, we can inject seawater right away. So that will basically allow us to avoid all kinds of water permitting process, but also it will keep our operating costs low. Super. So that is really a huge advantage of being in this part of Gabon.
As you are moving then in the future, hopefully, or you sell it maybe, I don't know, but large quantities of material. So how do you transport that? Will you have a pipeline, for example, somewhere? What is the nearest port? How does that work to handle like large ships, like large processing facilities?
Yeah. So Jochen, the plan is to start small. We, as you remember from our previous lithium and potash projects, we never start big because we want to keep it manageable.
Yeah, makes sense.
Absolutely. So we don't want to have a large capex. Yeah. So here we're going to start probably with 400,000 or 500,000 tons of operation, again, using solution mining. And the plan is basically take it through the port. It's a lagoon port that is being built right now. And to get our product or our solution or brine to that port, we'll probably build a pipeline and we'll just pump it all the way there. And our processing facilities as well as storage will be based there. So because the port obviously will have all the infrastructure. They will have natural gas pipeline, they will have access to power grid and so forth. And then on barges, we'll take our material to 40,000 tonners, to the ships that will be obviously taken to customers, to ultimate users. Okay. And since we're gonna, again, as I said, we're planning on the 400,000, 500,000 tons. That means roughly 1 ship a month. So it's a very doable.
That's easy. Yeah. And the port facility, I think, is not yet there, but it will be constructed, right? I read something in the media.
Yes, they're already doing the work. They're doing environmental studies. So the next step will be actually building it. This is not a full-fledged port, the deep water port. So it doesn't require, tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah. So they already started the construction. And we think by the time we're ready to go into construction, let alone into production, the port will be ready.
So perfect match.
Yes, exactly. It's very good, and it's a huge burden off our shoulders because we don't have to do this ourselves. This port is developed specifically for resources in this part of Gabon, and it's done by third parties, so we don't have to contribute to the capex or anything.
Well, just need to commit. Saves you a lot of money and time.
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Super. Let's talk about Gabon itself. There has been a coup.
Yes.
I think it was 30th August. So now we are like 6 weeks later. What does it look like? You have been there lately. So is everything still in good shape? And we are always read like Niger, there was trouble, Mali, Cote d'Ivoire, etc.
Yeah.
So what's going on there?
So Gabon is quite different, Johan. So first of all, we were operating during the coup, or during the announcement of the coup, I should say, and its aftermath. So it had no impact on us whatsoever. And almost all major operators, both in the oil and gas sector and the mining industry, they were all operating without any interruption, on any disruption. So that's very important. There was no unrest on the streets. So it was a very quiet affair where, the previous president was ousted. But the new government is really, making right statements. And they're also trying to stabilize everything. They brought in a former opposition leader as the prime minister for the transitional government. And they're trying to make sure that everybody feels comfortable, that they've also met with all the key players there, with the ambassadors of major countries, as well as with UN representatives, saying that all the contracts, all the agreements, license, etc., will be respected, of course, going forward. And that is very important because the country is really keen on attracting more foreign direct investment into the mining sector, specifically beyond, of course, oil and gas and tourism and so forth. So they want to make sure that this continues. And I think, in the next few months and a couple of years, we'll see that. I believe that they will try to make the country as investor-friendly as possible.
Mm-hmm. Okay, super. Maybe a word to the worldwide potash market. What is your view on that? I'm also a shareholder in BHP Group. So I saw in their presentation for the annual numbers that they also want to go again more into potash. They are already, of course, one of the large producers. So it looks like those guys know exactly what they do. They see it like you.
Yeah. So look, I mean, there are 3 major production centers in the world. Right? So 3 major countries that supply almost 75% of world's potash. So this is Canada, Russia, and Belarus. And it's been like that for probably a few decades now. As you know, because of the Ukrainian war, the Russian and Belarusian potash sectors have come under sanctions. Having said that, the potash from both of those countries is still coming out to the market. It's going over ground, over land through Russia to China, India, Brazil, and so forth. Now, what is important about the whole sector is that it is geographically concentrated, those three countries, but the entire world uses potash. So, in other words, and many of these countries that use a lot more potash than others don't have any domestic production. So, for example, Brazil, 12 million tons a year, no domestic production. U.S., very little. They import almost 10 million tons. China, they import 10 million tons as well. Now, what is interesting is that we're going to have a serious advantages because of our location. We're going to be the nearest supplier of potash to Brazil once in production. We're also in Africa. Africa itself uses between 1 and 2 million tons a year. No domestic production, so we'll be able to supply our product to Africa as well. In terms of the price, it's I would say between $320 and $400 per ton, depending on the market. The lowest price is being paid by China and India right now, around $320 per ton. Spot price in Brazil is around $350. Western Europe and US probably closer to $380, $390.
Okay, super. Where do you think conservative, you can maybe produce in the future? Because the solution mining, it's not that expensive.
Yeah.
But as we are saying now, today is $350 to $400. So will you have costs well below $200, $100? What is your, just a guess? I know for the regulators, no forward-looking statements in that sense, but or it is a forward-looking statement, but just to give us an orientation.
So look, Johan, the way we look at it is that we always want to be one of the lowest cost operators, no matter what commodity we go into. Specifically in potash, we want to be as competitive as possible with large producers. So we think because of thick potash horizons, the proximity to seawater, to the shore, etc., we can keep our operating costs pretty low and very competitive with, let's say, Russian or Canadian producers. At the same time, the capex in general with solution mining tends to be lower than for conventional mining because of the nature of the works. And it's modular. So that's why we want to start small, but we can always expand.
Build it bigger.
Yeah, exactly. So in the next 18 to 24 months, we want to finish not only the exploration part of the whole program, but also feasibility and environmental studies. So that's the plan. So by the end of next year, we want to finish feasibility. By the middle of 2025, we want to finish environmental studies. And that should position the company for, the basic construction or potential a transaction, depending on the situation.
The exit strategy.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, super. Farhad, thank you very much. That was great.
No, thank you.
Yeah, wish you all the best for that. And I would say keep it going because the world is growing. We need your potash.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Farhad Abasov, the chairman and also co-founder of Millennial Potash. Yeah, you heard it, a new potash project. Potash is something which is really on the horizon here. And going more and more really important for the world's food business and food growing. As you see, the world is growing by approximately 90 to 100 million people every year. So now we are at 8.1 million people and we need to feed the world. So good potash project is really important. And honestly, with Farhad, I know I have a super expert here with potash, and that makes really sense that you have a look on this fantastic company. And also you get it really quite cheap today because after the coup in Gabon, of course, the stock price fell by 40%, which is quite normal. And I am in, maybe you too. So thanks for watching us and bye-bye from Munich.